Okay, let me tell you that we have understood about information literacy. Okay, all of you have understood, uh, and what you will actually go through in order to evaluate the veracity of the information you have understood, right? So, yeah, because of AC. Okay. Uh, Now, again, I'll be discussing a bit of that gatekeeping theory. So, that is also understood gatekeeping theory. So, this is a part of your communication research paper, but how gatekeeping theory has become a gate watching, like, and it has shifted its paradigm to gate watching is important. So, we have gatekeepers. Now, we tend to have this gate watcher. That is also quite important, in the sense that these digital technologies doesn't have that technological constraint as well as commercial constraint. Although you see that digital media has created a disruption in the whole news making business. Okay, so it has already disrupted the whole news making business. Okay, in a sense that you get to see we have that convergent technologies nowadays. So we have a digital newsroom and they tend to live on digital advertising. And digital advertising lied in a clickbait. So clickbait is also a kind of phenomenon nowadays, which is based on that false connection. So false connection in the sense that you have a headline which is misleading, so which will invite more and more click to that news, but inside the content is different from what is being written in the headline. So the headline, that caption is different from the content, and you actually design it in such a way that will invite more and more click. So if you look into this whole phenomenon, clickbait is there. That is also another region of that spreading of disinformation into this era. The too much of disinformation is because of this clickbait, and it is it advertising tool. So it is through which you see that digital uh, media, uh, or this digital newsroom is um, trying to create popular content and get popularity or even earn some money. Okay, but at the same time, it will not merely judge the factor like attention span, as well as the time and attention which is given by the reader to one news piece. Okay, so we have different techniques like click through, cost per click, impressions. So that too I will discuss in a later class. So. So these very techniques are used basically to measure the item, how many times it is news item, how many times it is clicked. But it is not, it will not measure, it is not designed to measure the attention of the audience towards a particular item, or it will not even measure whether this attention can create a kind of agenda or not. And hence you see that this gate paradigm has been changed, because it will judge the popularity of one particular, news item. Okay, news item or any kind of, news page story, popularity is being judged. It is being popular because it is being highly clicked, but it is being clicked, it may not be read also, right? Because that click through mechanism will not give you much idea about this time which is spent by the user. Okay, and hence you won't able to identify the agenda of the day the same time. And there are numerous outlets, as I have told you, that mostly useless information are there in this digital media environment, right? So every person can be a media person here. So in that scenario, you also see that there is a sheer possibility of information disorder in this kind of environment. We also tend to give information about this blog and wiki. These are also tools. So I will discuss about it in one class. So blog is important at the same time because it has complemented the journalism. It has also supplemented the whole practice of journalism nowadays. And blog is also a tool through which you can be self-reliant. You can earn some money. Even there, YouTube bloggers are also there. So it is also a kind of reputation management tool. It is also a kind of representational, self-representational tool. Okay, so it is used in different way. Blog is used in different way nowadays. So it is an online journal, and placed in a reverse chronological order, and uh, mm, tend to post content, and that too in reverse chronological order, and the influence the audience through its subjectivity. So blog basically is a product of this gift economy, as I have already told you, unlike the journalism, which is a product of market economy. Right. Journalism is a product of market economy, and once you also see mainstream media where the information giver, only information giver. So audience tend to rely on mainstream media. So they will look for the newspaper to get the news of the day. So it usually happens that nowadays you see this value of newspaper has died down, right? But our parents, even earlier, we also during our childhood, tend to wait for the newspaper whenever we are there in home, right? Saturday, Sunday, Sunday especially, we tend to wait for the newspaper to read the items of the day, that so that we have an idea about the issues, that agenda of the day, right? Agenda of that particular time. But nowadays we don't tend to wait for the newspaper, because the situation has become such that we are made to be very busy, or at times we are made to be unnecessarily busy, right? And we have that mobile also. That is also one thing. We have that mobile phone. We can check any news item and story of the day. So that culture of waiting for that newspaper to come to set the agenda of the day, to get yourself aware of the information that is percolated across the society, or create an agenda across the society, has gone. Those days are gone, right? So here there are different media outlets which will set the agenda, and hence that gatekeeper role has diminished. So those who tend to be the editor will not represent the reader. Earlier, what happened? Editor represent the reader. They will represent the reader. They will definitely think about this audience, whether audience will read this item or not, audience will like this item or not, whether audience will be educated about this or not. So that was the priority of the editor. So editor will definitely, gatekeeper will judge the that interest, public interest. So public interest is also another very vague term, I'll say. Is very vague term. When you say public interest, you say what interest public is the motto, or you see this goal of the gatekeepers, right? What will interest public? What will interest public? Whether the sensation will interest public, or the political news will interest public, or a development story will interest public. Now that is being identified by this editor. Now, when you say that they themselves say that society doesn't have any interest in political news or developmental story, so society has interest in sensational story. So sensationalism is being preferred for the larger interest of the public. They used to say like that way. Okay, even mainstream media. I'm talking about the mainstream media. They used to say that, and in that way, they tend to make the content very homogeneous, because this lies in favor of public interest. They tend to say that these very issues are lies in favor of, or these very issues are lie in favor, raised in favor of public interest, and hence they will pick that. And also that issues are being made to be public because of that political pressure at times, that is there. Hence you see that from policy level there is a pressure that you make this issue priority issue, and that becomes the agenda of the day. So our perception is actually based on the media perception initially, earlier. So formerly, our perception were based on the media perception, the kind of issues media tend to highlight. That's what is being told by Maxwell McComb and Donaldson in 1977, who were the founder of agenda setting theory. They said that our perception is based on the media perception. But nowadays, that whole paradigm has been changed. Our perception is not based on the media perception. Because of this everyday, daily me concept. Daily me concept is there. So, there are so many outlets, so many, that news groups, and even that databases are there, information databases are there to provide us informations that will not help to set any agenda of the day. So you're talking about any political agenda, one group will say, I don't have any interest about this issue. So you are talking about development, nah? What kind of development he or she has brought? This is entirely in line with this government, government sponsorship, or government affiliation, or ideology. So another group will say that no, this is what we are involving. We are promoting us. So we are also working in developmental front. We are working in this project. In that way, it should be highlighted. So in that way, diversity of voices, or you say multivocality, is there. It has come into, and hence you see, editor nowadays doesn't represent the reader. It is the reader who will represent the editor. So that is a change. If you look into the change and paradigm of journalism, with the help of digital media technology, we will get to see that it has completely changed, because the way it represents the reader, it changed. So now reader will represent the editor. Earlier, editor will represent the reader. So whatever information will be provided to us by mainstream media, we will rely only on that, because I have got this in yesterday's newspaper. So I'll rely on that. But nowadays, you have different perspective, different lenses are there, different news outlets are there. So one will negate it, another will establish it, another will reinforce it. There are so many frames. So there is not a single frame which will actually decide the news of the day. There are multiple frames to decide the news of the day, multiple lenses, multiple perspective. It will not help you to set the agenda. So our agenda setting role has been reduced. At the same time, you also see that journalists tend to be gate watcher. They are there, they will watch the gate, they will not be filtering the content. So they will not be involved being in this filtration process. They'll simply, what they'll do, they will watch, they'll watch the kind of information coming into. So that is related to the kind of information coming into, who is participating in constructing the news, to certain extent, whether it is true or false, to certain extent. But now that veracity and truthfulness of information is also something, this is this less prioritized in, in digital media and even the mainstream media, because immediacy has ruled everywhere. So immediacy and virality has ruled everywhere. So in the process of, and in the pursuit of giving importance to immediacy and virality, you get to see that the importance of the verification of information. We say the discipline of verification of information, double check the information, cross checking the information, quality of the information uh, has died down, has diminished, right? In pursuit of the virality of the information and immediacy of information, because every time there is a there is a tension of deadline publishing and social publishing. Deadline publishing is there. Deadline publishing, let me tell you. So deadline constraint is there. Deadline publishing, in the sense, you need to follow the deadline. You need to upload 3 4 stories in an hour. So how can it be possible? Yeah, it is possible because you have so many information outlet. You pull this information, so you make a single whole package, and then you replace all the primary information and make this information as a finished package. Right. So that is being done. That is happening nowadays. So within an hour or two, you are submitting 1 2 stories. Earlier, journalists take a whole day for submitting one story. Now you are within an hour or two, you are submitting 1 or 2 stories. It's so pressure some situation, no? So that is a scenario. At the same time, you also see that uh, there is social publishing. Social publishing is related to pressure from the society to get to find some information. There is a pressure from the society to publish some information. Some information will always publish on demand by the news house based on the social claim. The society will claim on certain information. So that has also changed the whole scenario of the newsroom. Social publishing, deadline publishing, clickbait has completely changed the quality of the content. Clickbait, right? So it is very very important to, like, to be information literate. Hence, so that we also tend not to fall into the myth making process, because this digital technology has already, you say that um, facilitate that myth making process. So myth making meat after meat. So, but at the same time, people also said that now we have the provision of linking the references and annotation, giving the annotations, and hence there is no meat. So meat has been deconstructed. Just because there is a provision of giving annotation, just because there is a provision of giving the references in a story, which was not there earlier. Right. Earlier, there is no provision to give any kind of reference in a story, but nowadays there are provision to give references and annotations to a story. In notes, footnotes, you can give. So you can link it to. You can also cross-check it. So you can cross-check the method of doing a story. Okay, that method is important, and that is related to transparency. So digital media has brought in lot of transparency, the way story is being made. So earlier the story was not made in that way. So digital media has made that story transparent, because there are, you see, uh, there are provisions like linking that reference annotations, as well as in notes, footnotes, so you can refer to it. Okay. So that is also one thing. In a way, it has also it will take you to different sources at the same time, and it will establish veracity. That is the other side of the continuum. Okay, so people say that it is of less of, like, truthfulness. Digital media is less um, of truthfulness, but at the same time, we see that this linking capacity will also make it authentic, very very authentic. Okay, so you are linking to the right source, it's very authentic. Hmm. So that authenticity is also proved. Okay, at the same time, you also see that earlier we see what happened. We tend to see in journalism, normally what, two, three, or four people can write a story by line, can be given. But in the era of blog, we can have 12%, even 20% can write a story that will make a sense, right? So that is one. And barrier to entry into journalism is very less nowadays. So earlier also there was barrier to entry. Barrier to entry is based on the context, basically, not in terms of degree. You might have a degree, you may not get a job, or get a stake in any kind of newsroom, because it is entirely based on the context. But now what has happened, that um, you love to write, you are a freelancer, or you also want to be a media person, you want to be, but you are not. But you can create a blog, you can write stories, publish stories, and also uh, you make it open for interpretation, disseminate it. So barrier of entry coming into this news profession is less, right? And hence it is very very important to for a media person to behave ethically, because when society becomes the media, so each and everyone try to, like, become a media person. So how you will differentiate yourself from the society? Because you are having a degree, so you are different. You are not someone who is only believing in entertainment, funny and funny. Okay, rumor and rumor. Okay, take amusement, but yeah, you need to know the boundaries around. It's very very important. Okay. Yeah. Chalo then. Anything else? Any questions from your end? No question?